I don't know why my mic did not unmute automatically, so I apologize. T-Rob here with the Biz Pulse. Hopefully you're having a great evening so far. If it's evening where you're at, I'm not sure, but thank you for joining me. And I'm excited tonight because I've got a guy I actually just met in Vegas and was super intrigued by his mind and just his take on things. So I really wanted to jump on a stream with Nate Stakes. And I'm going to bring him in here shortly. But first, I want to say thanks to folks that are in. Alan, you were first, man. Thank you. T-Bird, what's up? Sandy Beach, hey, how you doing? Appreciate you guys and gals. So it's really cool because my guest today kind of has he's pretty, I'll just be honest, he's pretty brilliant. So when you talk to him, you get a lot of feedback. He's relatively a new streamer, but his channel's growing quickly, and I wanted to bring a man, Nate Stakes, on, and I'm going to quit talking about it. Sandy, I'm glad you're fantastic. I'm going to quit talking about it and bring Nate in. So let's get him in here. Unmute there, Nate. No problem. Looks like Nate's got some technical stuff, so I'm going to pull him back.
Technical difficulties, 1 second.
There it is. I hear you, man. I hear you. So you're good. I'm going to pull him down real quick until he gets his stuff going. Yeah, the mute button. It started off that way with me tonight, and then he got it too. So, man, what's your take, guys? People that are in the chat, what's your take on this new Ethereum thing that's happening? I've been reading some on it, and it's pretty interesting. So I'm kind of interested to see what happens there. Will it change anything? Who knows? There's a lot of different things on it, a lot of different opinions, but really what I saw was that it's more of just they're trying to scale, and they've really the old Ethereum's kind of grown like really, really weak, and they're trying to scale. So, so we'll see, right? We'll see. Alan, I like it. Won't be touching it until I let it play out for 1 or 2 days. Yeah, for sure, man. So, Nate, did you get it figured out there, bud? Anyway, so Nate's having some technical difficulties, not uncommon in this world. I think he just jumped off, so we'll keep talking here. So tonight I wanted to talk about Ethereum a little bit, but I really want to talk about the RH ecosystem in general, and what this Ethereum merge means for potentially some of that. Some of you may have been in Vegas, and maybe I met you out there. If I did, it's awesome. It's funny because when you get out there, it's a lot of people aren't what you think when you see them like on screen, and then you see them in person, and you're like, dude, you're like way bigger, or you're way smaller, or you just look different. So it was a great time. I enjoyed my time out there. But after about 5 days, and honestly, I used to go to Vegas all the time, but 5 days is too long in Vegas for me. So I'm about 3 days in, man. I'm ready to get out of there. So, but the good thing is I actually came back with some money this time, which is good, right? I mean, that's typically it's the other way. So, like I said, you probably saw we're waiting on Nate tonight. He had some technical difficulties, so I'm sure he'll be back in here shortly. So Sandy Beach, how you doing? Samantha, thank you for coming in. Evening to you. And looks like I got Nate back, man. Let's throw him in here and see if he's going to be working this time. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, man. Oh, you moved outside, dude. You're going to be hot.
Yeah, it's a little warm. Someone's not working with my audio too well, so I'm glad I got to hop on here and get it fixed real quick.
Yeah, man. Well, number one, thanks for coming on, Nate, man. I enjoyed meeting you in Vegas, dude. I was very, very intrigued by your mind, man, and just how do you communicate. And I wanted to get on with you because I I really want to talk to you about things in general. But first, I want you to introduce yourself and kind of tell people how long you've been in this crazy crypto world.
Yeah, right on. So I've been in crypto since the Black Swan event 2020 in March. That was my first experience into cryptocurrency, and really that was just long story short, I was in the industry in Vegas, working in the restaurants for 8 years. Worked up really high, opened up a lot of big spots, got a bunch of cool gigs, and then was going to college, and then did the right thing that I thought was like, getting the degree, doing like a trade. And I worked my job for 3 weeks, and then the event happened and I was furloughed. And then kind of like from that point on, I questioned everything and like the security of my future. And after that, I essentially put half the money that I had left into stocks, the other half into crypto. And I made like 5 or 6 times the amount in cryptocurrency without even knowing anything. I think all I put money in was Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah.
And so continued on. I just experienced the 2021 bull run. I got into NFTs and trading and all kinds of stuff that's bad for you. And I never
Haven't we all, man? Haven't we all?
yeah. So I kind of got into all the stuff that's, unhealthy, but sometimes those necessary wounds that you have to take and lick and move on and grow. And then eventually I find out about Hex and Richard Hart, like near like basically when it was starting to go parabolic and go crazy from like 21 cents up to the 56-cent top. And yeah, from that moment on, I was like a Hexagon. I was hooked. I love the transparency of Richard Hart, how he was debating people. Technically, I'm a big person on that. I pay attention to that. And when people just started coming at him with insults only, I really felt like I found something special, because that's a big sign, a red flag to me, when people can only refute things in a negative manner and they don't have any actual intellect behind their saying. It just drives like pure hate. So that's what turned me on. I started watching all you guys, and the Hex community is incredible, and there's so many like amazing creators, and you guys provide so much value to my life. And I'm hooked, so I'm here. I'm a Hexagon for life, 5555, and all these other great things that are getting built on top of it is really just a blessing to be a part of, man.
Yeah, well, cool, man. Well, definitely appreciate the feedback, and who you are, and you were. It was fun because we were sitting with you, and you were just kind of telling us all the cool places to go in Vegas too. So that was really cool, man. So next time I come out, man, you got to be my tour guide. You got to show me around a little bit. So
absolutely, yeah, heck yeah. It's like every time you come to Vegas, you can't see it all, and then there's a bunch of like local hot spots that we go to instead of going down the strip that are like a hit.
Right. So, man, I'm just gonna jump into it. I see your shirt there, and I see it says freedom. And my question, man, is what is, because this, you get a lot of different answers when you ask this. What is freedom to you? What does that mean?
Right. Freedom to me, in the simplest form, is to being able to be comfortable in your own skin, living the best life that you are capable of doing with the circumstances that you're in, right? And that's it. I don't try to complicate it. It's the ability to move and be who you want freely and express yourself however you want. And it's as simple as that. I believe it's a God-given right to all humans, and that whether you like shooting guns, playing cards, playing video games, making YouTube educational videos, I feel like we all have that God-given right to do and pursue what we find frees us. And that's really what freedom is. It's that thing that we all connect to, whatever our hobbies or talents are, that we get to, in America, we're so blessed to go after. In other situations, other people are not, other countries are not allowed to, some countries force people without any say into the military, or, nothing other than slave work your whole life. So I find freedom is often, here in America, it's often neglected and taken for granted. And I think it's truly a blessing that we do live in a place where no matter how big our problems get, we still get to wear the clothes we want, say what we want. A lot of people don't grasp that, but other places you can't even say certain things. You can't go against regimes. And we have the power to remind people that you are free and you can make these decisions, and that falls into crypto. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I ask people this question, some people refer directly to money, like, but that's not complete freedom, right? I mean, like you just said, if you don't have freedom of speech, you don't have freedom of movement, um, money doesn't do anything, right? I mean, it all goes together. So it's pretty funny. I mean, we didn't plan this, by the way, but I actually had this wrote down to talk to you about freedom, and you came on with the shirt. So I'm like, man, I gotta go into that really quick. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, no, I love it. I'm a big proponent for that. In general, I think that's what attracted me to the Texan token because regardless of the political thing, it's one of those things that I look at because people get it's a little sticky with the political movement and Texas national movement, and I think it's a powerful tool because at the end of the day, it's going to take first movers. Texan team and the Texan nationalist movement, they're the first movers in that space because it takes a lot to stand up and stand for something. Everybody wants to say they're going to do stuff. Oh, it would be nice if it was this way. But you can only sit, at least in my eyes, you can only sit on the sidelines for so long. And you need money to get things done. It doesn't solve everything. And I think that it gives people opportunity with money in the right hands. So at the end of the day, it's a fight for freedom. It's a fight for unity. It's a fight to go back on those morals and values of family, friends. I hear stories, my great grandparents and my grandma would tell me that you can go into your neighbor's house and get butter, and no one in God's name would think about even doing that nowadays.
Yeah.
And so these are the principles that attract me to freedom, and I think Hex and Texan, they're setting the stage, and it's huge. This is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we can. I love what you just said, but as far as the Texan token, and I know you talk about it. I've seen it. You talk about it on your channel as well. Um, from a guy that's not actually living in Texas, because I'm in Texas. So for me to talk about a Texan token, people go, "Oh yeah, you live in Texas, right?" But for a guy that doesn't live in Texas, and you kind of just said why, but tell me why you're so I'll just say bullish about the Texan token.
I mean, besides the tokenomics aspect of it, which I find amazing, I think it's what it stands for, the people that are behind it who are doxxed, and the state, from in Nevada, the last 2-3 years, I guess 2 years going on 3 now, the lockdowns were severe here. So if you weren't in a state where you didn't really feel any of the suppression or, a lot of these things that took away our freedom,
Yeah.
and I met people that were in the Midwest and all these small towns. No one even knew that this stuff was happening. But in these major cities like California, the coast, New York, Nevada was one of them. It was hard. I went through probably the biggest mental depression that I've ever gone through in my life, just of the unknown and how unstable everything was. There's local restaurants and businesses that will never ever open up again here, and I just firsthand witnessed how the governor of Nevada was they were using political propaganda to scare people. Um, it really caused a lot of fear. And I'm in physical therapy,
Hmm.
and so I work with a lot of the elderly population. I work with everybody, but obviously a lot of the elderly population, they were radically shaken and scared and fearful just to exit their house. And I feel like it got blown way out of proportion, and it lasted years in Nevada. And so, we got a bunch of new people here moving here and stuff, and they want to act like Nevada is like, oh, great right now. But it's just changed. The culture's changed. The mindsets change. They force you to, I'm not trying to say trigger words, but they force you to, you get what you got to get to function in
Yeah.
society. Get my drift?
Yeah.
Um, there wasn't really an option until way later, and I just at
Right.
the end of the day, I'm firsthand witnessing the power of tyranny and authoritarian, and no democracy, less freedom. I've directly been affected by it on Twitter too. That's why I don't have an account. That's okay though. Um, so I had lived that personal experience, and it was hard to see and know people that had businesses here that'll never open again. And
Yeah.
Texan, for example, that's why it sparks it up for me and like lights this fire in me, because if Nevadans had a Nevadan coin or something like that at the time, who knows what that could have done for people. Could have kept local businesses open. It could have kept people, not stuck and in a desperate mode where we're relying on people where we shouldn't have to. So, yeah.
Tea time, crazy, comply or be punished, 100%. And that's a great, great stuff, Nate, by the way, but tea time, perfect for that, because that's what they're trying to do with the world in general. Right. So like what tea time and what you just said is exactly what the Texan token's try to fight. Right. And what people don't understand, it's a movement, right? It's not Texas. It's a movement, because there's other states that are already on board. They're already ready to do the same thing. So freedom is coming, it's coming. And it's nice just to be like on the forefront, and actually your third eye is actually open and seeing things, understanding it, like, hey, I got to get on this, or I'm gonna be left at the train station. Right. So but perfect, man. I appreciate you talking about the Texan, and I don't want to do all Texan, because you and I could talk forever. We talk a lot in Vegas about it. I love the people that are involved in it. I mean, what a great group, man. Just super people, man, that really love people. And it was so awesome out there to experience it. But I want to jump over to the big RH ecosystem, and I want to get your feedback on, first, let's start here. What is your feedback on the new Ethereum thing that's coming out here, I guess today, right?
Yeah.
So what's your feeling on it?
Yeah, so there's like a lot of mixed feelings, but one of the big ones that I pulled from a team meeting earlier today was, we actually get the example to see a full system state copied over, like how Pulse Chain will do. So we get to see, which is very interesting, how it's going to actually go down, how it functions, how the stable coins will hold value, or if they even will, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that's the most exciting part of it. I know that there's going to be a lot of like scams of RPCs and networks and stuff like that trying to mimic it. So I'm interested to see how the miners respond, keeping their proof of work side. It's just really interesting, because I wasn't here for the Ethereum Classics situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this has any similar vibes to it, but I'm kind of I'm like in the just paying attention, essentially. I think that out of all of it, like I said, it just gives us this prime opportunity to see a system state copied over.
Yeah. And I mean, it's to me, like with the launch of that, it helps Pulse Chain, right? Because we're, like you just said, we're being able to see something. But I just feel like it's kind of a step up for us on the Pulse Chain side. And I've been reading, on this Ethereum stuff, and I'm like, well, what are they actually doing? Like, because the last thing I read was that they're really doing it for scalability, because they're pretty much have outgrown what they have. But with scalability, you would hope there'd be lower fees, et cetera. But maybe I haven't seen anything that says it's going to be any different.
Yeah, no, the fees, I believe, are going to be the same. And it's very interesting to think about these fees. Maximus DAO's founder was talking about this earlier on a stream I saw. Basically, essentially that, like, as of right now, only like 2 15-year stakes, they fill up a whole block on Ethereum. So for EHEX, that, they're talking about EHEX, PHEX, and as far as the blocks, and I think the blocks on Pulse Chain are 4 times the size.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really all we can do is watch and participate. Maybe we get some free coins. It'd be sweet, and could get that dip. So that'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, man, for sure. So let's jump into RH stuff, and we got Hex, we got Pulse X, we got Pulse. What's kind of your plan after Pulse Chain launches? What are you thinking? Everyone's got a different opinion of what they're going to do, but what's your plan on it?
Yeah, so so from my perspective, I'm like a smaller player in the ecosystem, right? I didn't get in on the Pulse Chain because didn't know about Richard Hart or anything at that time when he had that sacrifice going on. I definitely
missed it too. So I'm right there with you, man. I missed it too.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and I got into Pulse X, and so I've been whirling, going back and forth. I've been like, okay, so I know inside I definitely don't want to give up any of my Pulse X. I think that the buy and burn function, I think that The fact that it did get at such an incredible rate, and the fact that you can farm with it and, you know, stake it and all these things, it's got too much utility for me to want to give up. I only want to get more of that. So I'm not willing to swap my Pulse X for Pulse Chain.
Yeah.
I don't believe any of the stables, well, we won't know right until this, but I don't believe any of the stables are going to hold value on when they get copied over.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't make that move. And then the only real option to kick it off would be hold Liquid Hex, get the copy of Liquid Hex, use my P Hex, swap that into Pulse Chain, pre-bridge the 2 days that we have beforehand. Now, I probably wouldn't go in 100% because I've also been seeing that people really over sacrifice for Pulse Chain, it seems.
Yeah.
From the negative FUD, or maybe just people just are impatient or they don't know what they did. But I feel like there's a lot of sell pressure too that is going to come out, especially as people get a 10x, a 5x. You know, they're gonna get out. So my whole idea though to getting in pre-bridge those first 2 days is only just for the fact that if it does take off, I don't want to miss the boat completely.
Yeah.
So I would kind of just span in my DCA over 90 days. You know, I probably wouldn't even look at it for every 2 weeks or so, see how the market's reacting. That would be my plan for Pulse Chain, and essentially just accumulating as much as I can of that, staking it with, like, you know, David Feeder or a well-known validator that is really good for the system. And then eager to see what's going on with the incentive token for liquidity providing and stuff, and see how that pans out too. That's going to be a big one. I think people keep forgetting about, but I think that's going to be pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, we have a celebrity, man. We got the man himself, Crypto Heartbeat. What's up, Mr. Matt? How are you, man? Thanks for jumping over here. So we have 54 in right now. I just want to say hey to everybody, and thanks for jumping in here. If you have a question for Nate or myself, throw it up on there and we'll try to answer it. If not, we'll do what's it used to thing where you could dial for help. Hey, what was that? What was that game show? That old game show? I can't remember.
You want to be a millionaire?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
You had you call your friend.
Right. Yeah. You dial your friend or call your friend or whatever. So, yeah. So anyway, so we were talking about, you know, Pulse Chain, that sort of thing. So with the launch of everything, what's your feeling on Hex, man? Because here's what's happening, and you see it, and you're a smart guy, is like the bear market sometimes takes people away, right? People start going, I'm not going to hold this anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm moving on. So what's your take, man? I mean, like, everyone's patient, and the only way to get rich is to be patient, you know, unless you're lucky, right? But what's your feeling on Hex when Pulse Chain launches?
So I think P-Hex will outperform E-Hex maybe initially because of the fact that the fees are going to be so low. And so people are going to love that. And people who have money that are whales and stuff are going to be able to do shorter stakes and getting in and out, shorter time frames, cheaper. That was like the big holdup of that. But I'm still very bullish on Hex in general. I still look at it as the golden goose. I want to get to the point where I don't ever have to sell Hex. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to sell my Hex. Like, that's why I'm so bullish on all these other things that are coming out that live by the same crypto commandments, I call them, that Richard Hart set, with no admin keys, immutability. These are things, docs teams, you know, finished code, audit, all these things, financial and security audits. I'm looking at that as the commandments of crypto and like staples. And I want to utilize whatever I can because, yeah, like you said, people are getting distracted. It's boring. You know, Pulse Chain didn't launch when it was supposed to, but I think it's going to launch when it's supposed to. It's supposed to launch when it's ready. And it's going to be one of those things that people were caught with their pants down messing around over here around the corner when the good thing was right there in front of them the whole time, but they got distracted and heard a whistle and they took around the corner to, you know, pique their curiosity, and people may not survive. You know, there might be, I've talked to OGs that said there's people that have Hex that don't really understand it still, and like don't understand the value of it, and they have so much of it because they got in so early.
Right.
So I think all these factors play into the future of Hex, and I just think that the momentum we're witnessing is unreal with Richard Hart and all these different podcasts and the highest stakes. And, year 3 is like a big number for me. Psychologically, I think also plays into the Hex 369. I think, most restaurants, for example, take like 2 years to start seeing success, if anything, so it's the same idea. With time, it provides, validity for Hex. So really, it also has to do with time and numbers, because people are weird. And like, when people start seeing Hex at like solid dollar amounts, everyone's going to start going crazy and in on it. You know what I mean? People are like, it's so early still that some people are so skeptical. It's like, they think that the run up was lucky. A lot of people in the whole crypto ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still very bullish on Hex. I think that this price from 4 cents up to all-time highs, like a 13x.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane. So if you're DCAing this whole time, creating your staking ladders, you're gonna be good. I feel good. You have that feeling inside, and nothing is guaranteed. But I think all the cards are falling into a place. You got Luna's founder getting an arrest warrant out for him. These scams are all everything's getting caught up. You got the Mount Gox stuff. I think tomorrow is the Mount Gox stuff. So we'll see. It's the 15th, I believe. That's another thing that's going to play into this. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's going to be an undeniable one. And it's going to just be incredible to see. I think, just like I said, time provides validity for Hex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, time is to me, it's hard. I'm the kind of guy that goes bust doors open. So I've learned a lot since I got in crypto, because before, when I was in crypto, it was that game, of like, okay, turn, let's buy low, and this learning how to hold has been tough for me, because it's just a new thing. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. Like, man, I don't want to hold no more, but I know that the payoff in the end game is going to be amazing. So, I want to tell people, because I still see this as like, you get rich in a bear market, like right now, and this is not financial advice. Right now is when you should be buying things. Like, I mean, Hex what's Hex at right now? It's not even 4 cents, I don't think.
Up for like 3.7, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is a bargain. I mean, it's like people get in if you're not, or buy more. I mean, it's crazy. And that's the awesome thing, Nate. Is like, you and I, like, it sounds like our timing was similar, right? But we're still early to the game too, which is nice, because sometimes in crypto you come in and it's already past you, right? You're like, oh, I wish I'd have been in, like, you know what I mean? So it's just nice that we're in. And yeah, anyway, I'll quit talking about that now. But
no, fully, I fully agree with you. I couldn't have said it better. Quick thing, advice for anyone: if you go into a project like Ethereum or something, go back in the charts from launch, look 2 years in, see how cheap it was, and then that's how you can think about, wow, that could be me. Like, I look at it that way. I look at a lot of things where I look back, I'm like, what the heck? How was it this cheap? And then that was during the bull run, and they're like, oh, it's up, and you're like, oh, okay. So
yeah, man, for sure. So talk to me about, like, why did you get into streaming, man? Why did you decide to start your own channel?
Well, there's like two big reasons. One of them was Whales Only motivated me and pushed me, because he always said, get out there, and somebody needs to hear your voice, whether it's one person or whatever. And I had been shilling to my family and friends for so long, the last 2 years, about cryptocurrency, and I basically drove everyone mad, and they all loved me. But like that's all my conversations started becoming. Right. And so that also kind of pushed me, because like my family, my friends, my loved ones were like, all right, you're driving us a little crazy. Let's, so it was a good way to find an outlet and share my journey. Really, ultimately, I'm just trying to share my journey, have it documented, and so people can look back in the future and say, look, this is a normal guy like me. He was transparent. There's my video. These are the mistakes I made. This is this and that. You know what I mean? So I just think getting out there, because, you know, in high school, for example, I thought Bitcoin was a scam just like everyone else did, and I had the opportunity to buy it at pennies, right? And so I didn't want to miss that boat twice, and then Hex is a better version of that in my eyes. So yeah, the world has to know. I think also too, with the fact that everything that kind of went down, and I'm a big, you know, freedom individual. My great grandfather, you know, was born in the 1920s. I've got people in the military, so, you know, learning about all the hardship that they actually went through, Great Depressions and World Wars and stuff, like we got like cake here. And so, yeah, there's always going to be issues, and we should always work on them. But I just feel like, you know, it takes, what's the saying? It's like strong men make easy times, easy times make weak men, or something like that. Weak men make hard times make strong men, and then just go on these, something like that. And you know, I think we're in a time where weak men had are making it a hard time, and, you know, young men and women need to stand up and fight together and not be divided. And I think this is just one of the most important times in history for us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well said, man. Well said. So I know you touched on it earlier, and you know, like, and if you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. But you talked about like the mental part of it, and how, you know, your mental state, it was, you know, tough at times. And I know you weren't the only one. There's a ton of people that was the same boat. So you being in the therapy is like, and I know there's other people that are probably on this stream right now that are dealing with stuff and been through it. So how do you deal with something like that?
Well, one, it doesn't happen overnight. And two, you have to realize that you're in that state of mind and that you're in that situation. Because if you don't, you're just gonna keep crawling and digging your hole deeper, and you're gonna get in the cycle when you're having this negative self-talk. So you do have to have a support system where someone, or powerful enough to realize what you're going through inside and admit to yourself that you're not okay. It's okay to not be okay. We're all humans. We all have our days. So I had a solid support system. And really what it came down to is I was trying to find financial freedom for my mom and my future. And I felt like I pretty much had let her down, because she's an amazing person and has done everything, single mother. And I started, after, you know, it lasted a while, lasted a couple months, like a month or 3 months probably, of hardcore. Like, I hated myself, you know, I wanted to give up. I just, like, you know, negative self-talk, really bad things to say about yourself. And it took me killing my ego, killing my pride, admitting admitting and accepting my mistakes, and sharing with my loved ones and friends how I felt, letting them know too that, you know, if I did take it out on them, because they obviously do get affected, that they had nothing to do with that. And really, I just had the spirit inside of me to not quit. And there's also the fact that, you know, I started seeing people lose way more than me in harder ways. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, maybe I didn't make that big of a mistake. You know what I mean? When you X out on, you know,
Yeah.
tens of thousands of profit when other people lost millions, and you're like, okay, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. And I think that, you know, I had to also remind myself, like, hey, I'm new at this. This is like, I'm learning every day.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to get this down. So, you know, you're bound to make mistakes. So at the end of the day, you know, if you are feeling that way out there, guys, you got to get support. You can hit me up at any time, Nate Stakes on Telegram or whatever. I'll always try to reach out for people. Sometimes people just need to ear. Other people need to hear kind of your own experiences and what you did. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, my man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that, dude. I I've been around. I mean, we all have struggled with the same thing in our lives, right? And at times life's hard, and but I love that you said, you know, I looked at other people that were dealing with stuff way bigger than what you were dealing with, you know, and that's a perspective that I always look at as well. Like at least I'm healthy, right? At least you know what I mean? And like there's so much positive, and I think people they get in that dark forest and can't see the positive, they can't see the light, you know. So thank you for sharing that, man. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I like putting stuff out where maybe it'll help somebody, you know, like, oh dude, yeah, you know. So
Yeah, no, Dude, thank you for asking. I'm a very raw individual. I'm authentic. It just you kind of you see is what you get. So
Yeah. So my wife was very intrigued by you. She's way more spiritual, like advanced than I am, right? So, and you were talking about something, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Um, I should have asked her before I jumped on with you because she was talking to me about it. I'm like, huh? I didn't catch that. But was it the 7 day? It was,
oh yeah,
yeah.
I can
Can
get
you,
into a little
yeah,
bit.
can you get in that and just explain that?
Yeah, it's just the so Randy Halasky's been covering it a lot. It's the Shemitah. It's the Jewish holiday of this year that ends on the September 26th. But this is the seventh one of the seventh year. And basically every 7 years, if you track back in history, something major happens. And that it most of the time is financially, but sometimes it's not. Like, if you go 7 years back, 2015, it was like, Trump got elected. So we had that shift, right? Plus the Chinese market crashed a lot. And then 7 years behind that was the '08 housing crisis. 7 years behind that was 9/11. 7 years behind that was the dot-com era kind of thing in the stocks too. So it just keeps trending back. You can type in like Shemitah timeline and it'll start showing you all this stuff. But whether you're religious or not, it's a pattern, and history repeats itself sometimes in different forms. And so now we're seeing like, okay, so the Queen Elizabeth died. This guy named PNB Rock just got murdered. He was a famous rapper for the younger generation, right? So there's that, and then you got there's something else. There's the Luna guy, I think, is big info. That's like a first founder I've seen personally that's getting arrested or hopefully going to. And I think there's just more to come. It's supposed to end on September 26th, but it can events can happen beforehand or even late into early October or whatever after September. And so what to look out for is just, and I think this is also why Richard is preaching like 11K and pray, because I feel like he also knows there's more on the horizon. And I also saw some news earlier that Fidelity and Citadel and some other big stock companies actually now are going to be opening their own crypto exchange, and it's called EDX or something like that, EDX Markets.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's very interesting too, right? Because that shows their hand. Like, okay, I mean, we've all known, if we've been in the crypto space, the Fed had a white paper released in January.
Yeah.
And now this move by traditional major stock companies, I think that will the event be that we get the CDBCs or whatever, central digital banking currencies released? Will that be like the major shocker, and then the dollar dies? Will it be war? Will it be just a final bottom in this economic collapse? I don't know, but I'm trying to just, be prepared in the sense of having backup food at home. Who knows on that aspect? Having protection for the household, and also having some of that liquid capital, just in case for a flick of a wick down. Because I don't really see Hex going down. I think it was like 0.28 last time.
Yeah.
And so, like, I really, and Richard Hart believes the bottom's in for Hex. That doesn't mean necessarily, and he does preach that it's separate from the market. So, yeah, it's just a weird and spiritual event that occurs every 7 years, ironically, and something always happens that affects the world. We're at the forefront of basically a financial revolution. This may just be that crypto bubble, like the .com era. This might just be, you know what I mean? And only time will tell. But yeah, it's good for everybody to kind of pay attention to that and see that, and in the future, pay attention to that pattern for your stakes maybe, and other things. So I just learned about it this year, and I think it's pretty fascinating. And they do nothing this whole past year in Jerusalem. They're not supposed to do anything. No new work, no new seeds planted. They can only maintain what they have created and built. And then you go into Rosh Hashanah, which is at the after at the 26th, and it kicks off, and then that's the year of Jubilee. And yeah, so we'll see.
Cool. Yeah, cool, man. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, I caught pieces of it, so I didn't know exactly what what that was all about, but it makes sense now. So um, it's funny because, and I know you probably feel it too, because you mentioned one thing. It's like, I kind of feel like we talk about the negative change, right? But I really feel like there's a big positive change coming, right? And I really feel like crypto is leading that, right? I mean, like, to me, and people just don't understand this unless they're in it, the amount of gains that you can get in crypto is unbelievable. Like, people they can't even fathom it. When you tell them stuff, like, right, when you're talking about trying to talk to your family and stuff, mine's the same way. Like, yeah, whatever, they laugh at you, like, you're a dumbass, and I'm like, no, I can show you, like, so I know that really is a big fear for the government, because they obviously, there's that thing of losing control, right? But what a lot of people don't understand is that people are bragging about, oh, my bank's doing crypto and this and that, and they still don't understand that is centralized. You don't own anything. And it's just like the fiat that's in the bank account right now, that it could be gone tomorrow, right? So it's like what you were just talking about, like the stuff that they're putting out. Like, you're telling me the government doesn't have anything to do with that? I mean, like, come on, it's like, so, yeah. So if our stream goes down right now, we'll know, right? So, but, yeah, but I educate people on that a lot, because they're like, oh, I can go over here and buy that. I'm like, you're not buying anything. Like, you need to be decentralized, and a lot of people just don't understand it still.
Yeah. I think that's like, there's almost two versions of cryptos, essentially. There's the centralized cryptocurrency and there's decentralized crypto. Real crypto is decentralized crypto. That's the whole goal of it. That was its mission statement. You're gonna have people follow the wayside because they're lazy and they don't want to. I don't think not only are they lazy, but people also don't understand the gravity of the dollar and the situation that it's in. And I didn't either until I started educating myself hardcore. So you brought us a lot of really good points I like, and it's very interesting. I think that's obviously the biggest answer we're all trying to figure out, is how to get mass adoption to get this engine going, because that's really what it comes down to. And then, yeah, man, very interesting.
Yeah. But what's funny is, man, like, you and we're the fuel for the train, right? I mean, it's like that's what's so amazing. And to me, that's freedom, right? We can make the movement. We can push the movement. We can push the change. And before to me, that is what's coming. Like I hope other people feel it, but there's this push of movement, and the Texan token's a big one. Like, to me, it's like the Texan token to me describes crypto and how crypto is supposed to be, right? You're supposed to be able to use the leverage to make changes for the better, right? And so I hope people get that. I know a lot of people just come in like, man, I want to make some quick money. I do too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I want to be rich. I want to be able to do good things with it, but I want to be able to have fun as well. But
yeah,
crypto opens doors to so much. It blows people's mind when you try to talk to them that's not in crypto.
Yeah, it's weird. I asked the universe, I asked God, I asked for my higher power for more of a purpose. I've always been in the fields of giving, as far as hospitality and now physical therapy, but this is bigger, and I feel very like you did. I believe that there is good, and I think that I look at this. I say this quite often to people, is I look at this as like our version of like what we would have assumed like the Dark Ages were, and what came out of that was the Renaissance, was art and all these new sciences, and this is kind of that thing we're going through. Everybody feels like there's no hope. There's like tear going on everywhere, and what do we have in our corner? We have this sparkle of light, the Richard Hart ecosystem, and phenomenal things like Texan that stand by the same things and are coming in to provide us that light. And like you said, we're the fuel, man. We are.
Yeah.
We have fuel in the dragon's belly, and Richard Hart's a dragon, and he's trying to spread.
Right. That's right, man. Yeah. So speaking of Richard Hart, so like, what is like one thing, I mean, obviously Richard Hart's he's brilliant, right? I mean, the guy's 10 steps ahead of most people, right? So what drew you to him? Like, I mean, does something like one thing go, that's my guy?
Yeah, I always think about this. People ask. I think it was a factor of how certain he was of what he was saying, the way he's saying it, and um, I was able to, like, being from Vegas, you see a lot of flashy lights and show
Right.
and so none of that really caught my eye. None of that mattered. None of that, if anything, that would kind of made me more suspicious. But um, I was able to get past that, and I think it's just I look at how people talk and act. If he's talking one way, that's cool, but he was acting too. So like the biggest thing is people can say whatever they want. I look for action, and Richard Hart obviously did action because he wouldn't have all these people who are regular folk like me sticking their necks out, doing these events, going out of their way. So there's like this real movement. I don't see, other than the maxis, I don't actually see regular people that are like Bitcoiners. You know what I mean? Like I actually started seeing Hexicans. I even before I met anyone in Hex or started streaming, I was getting into Hex, and my buddy saw a Tesla with the Hex sticker on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's like how authentic and raw and real he is. I gravitate to that. I don't like BS, so I like someone that's like, even if it hurts my feelings or whatever, he's boom right in the nose and letting you have it. Because I think with society and everything that we see on main medias, it's all just a bunch of BS, and info is missing. It's partial stories, and I just feel like with Richard, you get the full thing. At the end of the day, it's like just right there. Bam.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%, and I think you're similar. That you're just transparent, and like, I love that in people. Like, because I don't like to be around people where you can tell they're like, I want the real you, not the fake side. So, but one thing that really struck me when I don't remember when it was. It's been a while now, but Richard talked about all the flashy stuff he has, the Rolexes and all that stuff, and he said, don't go buy a bunch of this stuff, right? This is for show. It's like, I have to do this, and that just made me like, oh, I get it now. Because the hard part, and this, is when you're trying to onboard new people, which Richard Hart do you show them? Like, which stream? You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to show your mom some of that stuff. It's like, oh, but so.
Yeah.
But I think once people get in a little bit and they realize, oh, this guy, okay, it's just kind of a show, and he's really in it for everyone to try to make the world better. I mean, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, and to achieve the glory, he can't rug. That's the thing. To achieve the things that he actually wants to do, which I'd never have a feeling that he would be. He says it, and it makes sense. He's been retired since he's 24. I mean,
right.
Guy is he's turning himself into an Elon Musk. He's turning himself into one of these people, these big monumentous figures that really will shape the future, and already has, essentially, by putting Hex into play, building Pulse Chain, allowing for all these freedom fighters and all these people who want raw, authentic life. People don't ask for much, so it's
yeah. It's definitely nice to have a transparent guy, right? I mean, and not I mean, no one's going, well, who's this Hex guy? Nobody ever sees him, I just that's cool. I mean, the scam thing, I mean, it would already happen, people, just letting you know. Like, we're so, yeah, jump in this scam, if you want to. Let's see. Here's a question here. What's up, Angel? Can y'all give me the difference of staking Hex and holding coins by MetaMask? Difference is, so if you stake Hex, you're actually making Hex, and you're actually getting a lot better return. Not financial advice by any means, but if you have the ability to stake, I would 100% stake. To be honest with you, I stake, and I do have some liquid Hex as well, but that's what I would recommend. Nate, you want to jump in on that as well?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what he said, I think that it's important to have a little small bag of liquid Hex. One, for this, if you didn't get in any of the sacrifices like Pulse Hex or Pulse Chain, you might want to have that liquid Hex to get in on ground floor products. And also for the fact, the benefit of staking, if you create a staking ladder, years, say 1 through 15 or whatever time preference works for you, you're going to be able to live a lot like more free and less stressed because you're not worried about timing markets. You're going to make money while you're sleeping. And that's the whole idea. It's to store value, build that yield, try not to sell your principal. It's not financial advice, but you want to try not to sell your principal, maybe live off interest or not have to sell your hex at all. But yeah, I hear not a lot of people talking about that. And I think that's something I wish I would have heard more, is have a little bit, maybe if it's 10%, 20% liquid hex, because, you can't, once you stake, you're locked in at least till half of that contract for sure. And, life happens. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you, Angel, for that. That's a great question. And we need more of that right there. Samantha, staking allows you to yield T-shares. Thanks for the price. Yes. Yeah. What's funny, Samantha, is when you try to explain T-shares to people, a lot of people glaze over like, huh? So anyway, yeah, great. Thank you, Nate, for answering that. And Angel, bring any questions. It's funny, Nate, because a couple people came out to me when I was in Vegas, came up to me and said, hey, I wish more people would do like the onboarding 101, like how, like the basics. And there is people that are doing it, and there's places you can refer them to. But so I started thinking about that on my streams as well, as maybe starting to do some stuff that's a little more basic that we take for granted, right? That we're like, well, you do this or that. But a lot of people still are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think I remember my experience when I first started getting into this and like had a MetaMask and the first time I was going to send funds, I was so weirded out. I had a weird gut feeling. I was closing my eyes when I hit send. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a weird experience because it's this long made up number full of letters and numbers, and it's just, I don't know. It throws people off for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one thing of and to me, like crypto is growing now, but back in the day I was in BitConnect and it was like a foreign thing, man. I mean, you had to do like 10 things to do this. And I mean, you saw why there weren't very many people in, right? Because it's just too freaking hard. It was not very good information out. And that's why I lost my ass too, by the way. But but anyway, yeah. I mean, it's getting better, but I don't want it to get like so easy where people are using the centralized thing, right? Where it's like, oh, this is easy. I just push this button. Yeah. And I think that's what it's going to go to. And it's going to be a big thing of like people losing their butts because it's like, oh, it's like banking. I can just hit this button and Anyway, I'm just rambling, man. Sorry.
No, you're good. I totally understand. I agree. I think that, I have an idea, but it would cost, years and shit. Like, it's so much money to fund and do. But essentially, I think people need a device like a phone or like a Pokedex or like something that's handheld that they can open up and like it's all the apps on it are crypto. It's like got a VPN on it. Like, I think people like if anyone is working on that or doing that, hats off to you. That takes a lot of time, dedication, and super complex. But I think that's a great answer too. If you give someone the technology, it's in the phone. People are smart enough to work smartphones now. Right. I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of my mindset. I just feel like people are like the easy route, especially in America. They don't like to. They want to come down, want to just be able to do it. And so I feel like we basically you have to give them what they want before. So.
Yeah. They want an instant. The world we live in is instant, man. I mean, we're spoiled, right? Finesse, how's it going, man? Don't worry. Not having to worry about timing markets allows me to keep working and being extremely choosy about it. Got to get rich twice, crypto first. Man, perfect Finesse. I agree with you 100%. And it's we were talking about earlier, Nate, it's just a different mindset, right? Because back when I was just doing the crypto trading thing, it was like, and I'm just stressing all the time, like watching stuff like, yeah. I couldn't even work, because I'm like, I gotta go with this, and try to figure out what, so it was, yeah, man. I get it. It's changed the world. I mean, the ecosystem we're in right now is a world changer.
Yeah.
for
Heck yeah.
financial success for sure. So, but thanks, Finesse, for throwing that out there. Let's see. Here's another question. If people will live off their interest, does this create constant sell pressure, keeping the hex prices dragging and inching upwards slowly over the years? Nate, if you want to answer that one, you can. I don't. A lot of this, like, I don't get into the financial side of things, but this, yeah. I mean,
I'll tell them it's not financial advice, but my perspective would be your interest isn't most likely isn't going to be more than the capital, your principal that you built. So in my eyes, I don't see that being a problem. Long story short.
yeah. I mean, the other thing is most people are restaking, right? So
Yeah.
they're pulling that and they're leaving their principal and they're staking again. So it's actually just the opposite in my mind.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. And then by the time your stake is ended, price appreciation. I mean, you don't know like how much, say a hex is $100 in 7 years or whatever, for example, who knows, but no, that changes everything. So I think it's all about perspective and realizing that everything right now is temporary and is to grow. Just like everything, every chart, S&P 500, even when it gets crushed, what does it do? I mean, Funding Jim gave me that advice because I asked him about a crypto recession because this would be the first one that's ever experienced. He said, "Look, it doesn't matter." He said, "I've heard people give me the doom and gloom story for 20 years, 25 years of my life. Like, guess what? It always bounces back." And so it's kind of
yeah.
how I.
Yeah, for sure, man. Love it. It's been about an hour, but do you have a little more time?
Yeah,
Can I ask you more? Okay, cool.
absolutely.
I don't want to cut into your time, and I know you worked all day. I did too, so I get it. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about because you're younger than I am. I'm an old man now, so I wanted to talk to you about like younger folks getting into this ecosystem and what you see as the future of like marketing to build like your channel, but to build this ecosystem. What is your plan for that? Because I know you got some feedback, I think, as well out from some smart folks there that kind of told you some different things. So if you can give me some feedback on that, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So as of like right now, per Funding Jim, like the most major thing is Instagram and Instagram Reels. And I think also for my generation, I think he basically said TikTok and YouTube is pretty much covered, and Twitter. The algorithms getting smashed and worked every day by everybody. But the biggest weakest link we have is the Instagram thing, and that also catches a lot of superstar eyes, a lot of people from my generation too. So I know that's like a big push. I also think that much like MySpace and then Facebook came, I believe there'll be a better, more improved, more transparent, fair version of Twitter in the future. Everyone's trying, but I feel like they rush it out and try to make it all about politics, not really about quality. And so you see stuff like Pull Speak. I don't know if you know about that, but that's like kind of like a twist on Augur, but that's like a socially enforced crypto platform. I think with the integration of cryptos and mass adoption, I think that's the kind of marketing we have to look forward to on top of the traditional stuff, like I mentioned before. I think these, when they do sprung up, people, we've got to pay attention. You got to be the first of the Twitter. So be the first of the next social media craze and essentially just capitalize on that. And
Yeah.
That's our opportunity right there.
Yeah, for sure, man. So Gary V, I mean, obviously he's made a ton of money and has humongous followers, and it's just because of content, right? And I was talking to, I might have been Matt, Crypto Heartbeat, about, I try to, when I do streams, I want to bring on people that no one else has had, but he said it doesn't matter because everyone's different, right? Like I have a different people that will follow me and they hear something from me that's different than what they may hear from you or Matt. So that's a great thing. I tell people just do content. It doesn't have to be perfect, man. Just get on a camera and do some content, and it can be anywhere. Like just do content because I think it just builds the ecosystem if we have more people that are involved. So hats off to you, man. It's not easy. Believe me, I'm still learning, dude. I'm still struggling through it, but it's fun. I enjoy it, and you meet a lot of cool people, and we get to talk about some fun stuff for sure. How much more time you got? You want to answer one more question and get into it?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Al, what's up, man? What do you guys think about other projects building on Hex? Uh-oh, I think I just lost him. He must have hit the wrong button. There he is. There he is. Let me bring him back in. Go
ahead.
You rugged yourself, man.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about other projects building on Hex? It's not things building on Hex. It would be things building on, I guess, Pulse Chain. But or maybe, I don't. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. So maybe he's talking about Hedron and that kind of stuff. Is that?
Yeah. So
yeah.
If he's talking about like Hedron itself, I'm bullish on Hedron. I think it's going to do very well. I think the fact that there's this whole mechanic behind it psychologically that's going to catch people up slipping here, because so for example, like obviously we all get Hedron for staking our Hex, and a lot of people essentially did 5555 stakes just to get HSI buybacks and get ICOSA to stake ICOSA. Well, depending on the player and the individual, when that 90-day period comes up and everybody's trying to bid for their stakes back, you know, you might encounter a situation because there's the OGs at Hex and stuff. They got so much of this Hedron that they could just have been sitting on or staking it now. And then when that 90-day period's up, they're just going to steal everyone's stakes. You know what I mean? So it's something to be wary about. And like, if you really want to, you know, it just depends on how much you value the ICOSA at that point. But I think it's a positive feedback loop. It's gonna at the end of the day, it's locking more T shares up, which is gonna make Hex more scarce. And then you have the ability to sit there. Literally, it's kind of crazy, right? You can sit there, you can just stake your Hedron that you're earning free from Hex, and then over the years, as it appreciates, you could just take your Hedron and buy more Hex with it. You could not even buy more Hex. You could turn it into pure, you know, capital, whatever that may be in the future, to pay bills. So I'm excited. I think that it's great to have stuff that actually supports it, lives by the same code, and is going to boost it. People are wish-washy on Maximus DAO, but I'm pretty excited about that too. You know, people can take in consideration like the little guys and us paying that money for gas and stuff like that. It is significant, and it limits your ability to grow in the ecosystem and move up the ladder and stuff. So yeah, I'm bullish on that. That locks up more Hex too. That's more perpetuals. And then, you know, and it also lines up in some bull runs, like I don't know if you're familiar with it, but like the trio and the lucky, they both land. If we stay in the 4-year cycles, they both land on bull runs. You know what I mean? So that's crazy. That's nice. I think that's crazy. So yeah, at the end of the day, anything that's going to basically lock more Hex up, I'm bullish. I'm all about it. And if it lives by that code and it's not going to, you know, no admin keys, immutable, let's go, baby.
Yeah, I agree. Texan token, by the way, too. So
hey, that's what I'm saying. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I'm glad Hexray Vision had that insight on the staking ladder, in creating multiple 22-year stakes for Texan and shaving one every, you know, year later down the road when they've grown. I think that's genius, and it's amazing that you shared that for free, because that's something I never would have thought of.
Yeah. I mean, scraping is. Yeah, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
Thank you.
When people really start like waking up and looking at the tokenomics, Texan is just, you know, and it's only the beginning with all the other things that they're working on in the background. I'm so excited.
Yeah, man, for sure. What's up, Tin Top? Thanks for jumping on, man. One thing I wanted to say, and I know we're getting over the time, and I'll let you go here, but I keep saying that, but I keep wanting to talk. But, I always kind of warn people of all the stuff that's going to be built on Pulse Chain. It's not going to all be good stuff. And I keep seeing people doing the shiny object deal of like jumping into things, and they're not doing homework. You know, they're not even like, oh, it's this guy did it, so I'm going to do it. So I don't know if I'm asking you a question or not. I'm just trying to tell people, like, be careful, man. Do some freaking homework and research. Talk to people that you trust about a project, because I'm telling you, there's going to be thousands of them here shortly. There's already I don't even know how many that are planning to launch.
There's 100 plus, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and they're growing every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just be careful, man. I mean, how do you, and that's a good, kind of a lead in of like, when you look at something, in a crypto space, how do you go about studying it, going, yeah, I'm going to do something in that?
Yeah, so I do heavy research anytime that I'm really like gonna go heavy in on something. I might speculate, and if I don't take something so serious, I'm not gonna throw a bunch of money in it. But anything that I plan to hold for a long time and I take serious, I go through the website, I go through all their socials, I look to see if the team is doxxed, I look to see um, the code, if there's audits. I stick by those what I call the crypto commandments. I really think that there's something to live by in the space that you should really, that doesn't mean that you can't invest in stuff that doesn't have that, but we know what works. We know what that functions with 100% uptime, flawless operation. You couldn't ask for anything better. So why wouldn't you want that, right? And I read all of the website. And if it's so fluffy and it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That's another thing, and I often use the analogy of like magicians. They have like this, like you said, shiny object over here, but they're doing something behind their back. And
Right.
so yeah, I look at the founders, how they carry themselves, how done is the code, is it done, like, the kind, if they run a sacrifice, if they don't. So yeah, you have to take in all these considerations, and as someone that's new in crypto, it's very hard to decipher what's legitimate and what's not. So I think at the end of the day, also dive in on YouTube and get multiple, just like you would get multiple recommendations from different doctors. If you weren't sure about their opinion, do the same thing. Look at all different aspects. I think that's the best advice I can give for people.
No, that's great advice, man. Really great advice. Not only for new people, but people that are like been in, right? I mean, like you said it earlier, there's people that have a crap load of hacks and they still don't even understand it, man. Like, so, like, yeah, just be careful, folks. Do you hold Hedron, and if so, on what platform? That's it.
App.icosa.pro is their webpage.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend still probably making, personally, I still would make hex stakes through the native, was that go.stakehex?
Yeah.
.com. But you can go on there and yeah, they have 3 different sections: a hex section, a hedron section, and the icosa section. And you could stake your hedron under the icosa section.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, these are good ones. This is a really cool stream. Thank you for having me on, man.
Oh man, I've enjoyed you, dude. I'd love to have you anytime. And I always tell people, man, if I can do anything for you, holler, and if you're ever in Texas, man, come see me. I'd love to hang out. And yeah, it's been great talking to you, dude. And I think that's it, man. I'll let you go because I know you're tired, dude. You've probably been working your tail off today, and I'll let you go have some fun tonight.
Heck yeah, man. Thank you again. It was an honor. I'll be chatting with you around.
What's that?
I'll be chatting with you.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. See you, Nate.
Later, guys.
All right, that was Nate Stakes, man. What an awesome dude, man. Like a young guy that gets it, right? And I would urge you, I didn't even put his channel up, but go to YouTube, put Nate Stakes in, or hit him up on Telly at Nate Stakes. Guy's got a brilliant mind. He gets it. And yeah, just super cool to have him on. Guys, I'm going to jump out of here. We've been in about an hour 15. Thank you guys so much. Just so you know, some of you are going, where's my sidekick, Black Hexagon? We're working on a new show, and I'm not gonna let it out of the bag yet, but we're working on some stuff. So we'll release that later on, and she and I will be back together doing a show. So thank you guys for coming on the Biz Pulse. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week and be blessed. You are loved. Remember that you're loved. So have a great evening. Thank you.